If you're an intermediate or even an advanced pianist looking to learn some works by Brahms, this is a beautiful waltz that people love the first time they hear it. I've been teaching this waltz a lot recently, helping students prepare for exams and competitions, so I'm excited to help you get started with it and master it. In this video, I'll show you how to practice this waltz, use tasteful pedaling, maintain the dance character, and play it expressively. I'll also discuss voicing, rhythm, and dynamics. I've created a free PDF for you of the sheet music with my fingering, pedaling, and dynamic suggestions. You can get that in the description below. And there's also timestamps, so if you want to jump ahead or revisit sections in this lesson, you can do that. Let's first quickly talk about the style of this Brahms waltz. The tempo is moderate with a lilting 3/4 time signature. The touch is light and legato. The voicing, the melody should sing out, and the counter melodies need to be recognized. Brahms is full of counter melodies. Pedal lightly to maintain clarity, and play this piece with warm expression with a slight rubato. And the articulation is smooth and graceful, never percussive. This waltz is in the key of G sharp minor, which can feel difficult because you're primarily playing on black keys in this piece. Once you hit 5 sharps in a key signature or 5 flats, that's the 5 black keys on the piano. So it might be helpful to think about what's not sharp in this piece. So B and E are your white keys, and there's also an F double sharp that you need to be careful about. So the F double sharp comes from the G sharp harmonic minor scale. It's the raised 7th note, and this is in the key of G sharp minor. So here's an F sharp, and an F double sharp is really a G. So as you're playing this piece, it should be helpful to think about B and E as your white keys, and then also the F double sharp is a white key. So I recommend that you, as you practice this piece each day, first warm up with a G sharp harmonic minor scale, and that will get your mind and your fingers warmed up for the key signature. You can just do a simple 1 octave scale to get warmed up. Do a lot of slow hand separate practice when you're first starting this piece. The note reading will probably feel difficult because of the key signature and the chords in the left hand. One thing that you could do is pencil in the chords for the left hand. That might be helpful. So bars 1 and 2, you're playing a G sharp minor triad. Bars 3 and 4, C sharp minor. This is especially helpful at the end at bars 14 through 17. This is a really difficult part of the piece because both hands are moving around a lot. So this is a G sharp minor triad, and then C sharp minor, back to G sharp minor, then D sharp 7, and back to G sharp minor. So you're playing mostly G sharp minor on the bottom line, and that makes sense since this is in the key of G sharp minor. But just penciling in those chords should be helpful. Notice that the right hand has a lot of octaves on this bottom line, bars 14 through 17 again. There's 3 octaves in these 2 measures. And then here, there's 2 octaves. One of the main difficulties of this waltz is the jumps in the left hand. So I recommend penciling in some fingering on the first day so that you avoid doing unnecessary jumping. So on the bottom line, for example, if I start this note with a 3rd finger or a 4th finger, that fits nicely. And that sets me up. If I play this with 1 and 2, that sets me up for the next chord really nicely. Then if I go from the C sharp up to a 1, 2, 4 or 1, 2, 3, then I don't have to jump as far. If I chose 1, 3, 5, that's a bigger jump. So use a 1, 2, 4 or a 1, 2, 3. And then here, if you use a 1, 2, 5 here, then you're set up for the next chord really nicely. And then back to 1, 2, 4. So penciling in the fingering will help you to avoid unnecessary jumps. You may consider memorizing this piece because it's difficult to watch the left hand jumps and look up at your music, but I recommend memorizing at least bars 14 through 17, the first and the second any, because that's the most difficult part of the piece. Again, both hands are jumping around a lot. Your first step in learning this piece should be to practice it hand separate, counting out loud. Like a typical waltz, the time signature is 3/4. So we want to emphasize beat 1 and then play beats 2 and 3 lighter. Don't play the first note too heavy. We want to think about an elegant ballroom dance. So down, up, down, up. This is a typical waltz pattern for the left hand. You have a note and then 2 chords that follow. Down, up, down, up. The left hand rhythm is pretty easy, so you probably don't need to count it out loud. But for the right hand, I definitely recommend to count 1 and 2 and 3 and in every measure so that you make sure that you get all the dotted quarter note rhythms correct. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1. You're going to notice that there's this rhythm pattern that happens throughout most of this waltz. So you have a dotted quarter note with 3/8 notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1. Notice at bar 7, the rhythm's a little different. There's a quarter rest here. That tells us when the F sharp is supposed to be played. So the F sharp is going to go on beat 2. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and same thing here. There's a quarter rest. 1 and 2 and so I want to make sure that the chord goes on beat 2, but I'm holding that half note. 1 and 2 and 3 and notice that I'm doing a finger transfer to a 4th finger so that I can hold that for a full 2 counts and make that transition sound smooth. On bars 14 through 17, there's a different rhythm pattern. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 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 so basically you're playing a note on every count in the right hand. As you practice your right hand, be careful of the 2-note slurs. So you want to drop down on the first note of the slur and then release on the second note. Down, up, down, up, down, up. And you're going to be able to use more wrist movement on the dotted quarter notes because you have more time. So those will be bigger movements, but that's okay because we want to emphasize the first note of each measure. So down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. And practice a lot without the pedal so you can really hear what you're doing with those slurs. On bars 7 through 9, notice that there's some notes that have up stems and some notes that have down stems. These are 2 different voices. So the main melody is the stems that are pointing up, 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and the counter melody has is the notes that have the down stem. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and so if we put that together, we want to bring out the notes with the up stems. Same thing with bars 14 through 17. There's up stems and down stems, but here the main melody is the notes with the down stems. So the main melody is 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1. And then the counter melody is 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and whoops, I messed that up. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 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 if we put that together, you want to bring out the notes with the down stems. That can be difficult. Just try to put more weight in this part of your hand. And just being aware of it will help you to do it better. Once you can play hands separate easily and counting out loud, then it's time to start practicing hands together. But I recommend to continue practicing counting out loud when you're first putting it hands together so that you make sure you're doing the rhythm correctly and it becomes a habit. So bars 5 through 8, if I was practicing this just really slowly, 1 and 2 and 3 and 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 I recommend breaking this piece up into small sections and then mastering just one section hands together before you add any other sections. I like to figure out where the phrases are in the piece, and then I mark sections at the phrase endings. The right hand has the melody in this waltz, so make sure not to let the left hand notes overpower the right hand. One thing that you can try doing in your practice sessions is called ghosting, where you play the right hand melody and the left hand you just touch the keys but you don't make a sound. If you can do this, then you can definitely bring out the right hand melody over the left hand notes. But most students really struggle doing that ghosting technique and bringing out one hand over the other hand. But be patient with yourself and work on it with every practice session, and it should get easier. The first step is awareness. If you know where the melody notes are, you're going to do better at bringing them out. Now let's talk about how to play this piece expressively. Brahms allows for a rubato or flexibility in the tempo, but it should feel natural, not random slowing down. In my opinion, there's a complete phrase every 8 measures. Slowing down at the endings of the phrases will help us shape the phrases, but the dynamics are also extremely important. So I encourage you to experiment with the dynamics and the tempo changes, but here's an idea for the first phrase. Notice my dynamics and my tempo changes. When I come back for the second phrase, the notes are basically the same, except for the second ending is a little different. So you might want to do the second phrase ending a little different. So at bar 7 on the first phrase, I get softer and I slow down. So I'm starting here at 5. So I slow down and get softer. But the second time, I actually get louder at bar 7. Use the pedal lightly, just enough to enhance the warmth, but maintain clarity. Try using half pedals. So as I practice my left hand, I'm only pushing the pedal halfway down. There's some measures, I'm just changing at the beginning of each measure, but there are some measures where there's more chord changes, so you'll need more pedal changes, like bars 7 and 8. So change, 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 change. So if you grab my free PDF in the description, you'll see my pedal markings and my fingering and dynamics, and that should be helpful. Even in simple textures like this waltz, Brahms' music conveys strong emotions. It's more passionate than his famous waltz, Opus 39, number 15, because of the minor key signature. You can hear the longing in this music. It should feel intimate, like a salon piece, not a grand concert waltz. So I hope you'll watch this next video of mine where I perform this piece from beginning to the end. Pay attention to the dynamics, the phrasing, tempo changes, and the mood.